Hello everyone. Welcome to the course Second Language Acquisition and Psycholinguistics. This is the 7th week and our today's topic is the interactionist perspectives of second language acquisition. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the relation between input and interaction in second language acquisition and explain different perspectives of interactionist views of second language acquisition both in natural and classroom settings. First, we will discuss the role of input in language learning. The input constitutes the language to which the learner is exposed to. It can be spoken or written. Input serves as the data which the learner must use to determine the rules of the target language. It is almost axiomatic that in order to SLA to take place, there must be some L2 data made available to the learner as input and a set of internal learner mechanisms to account for how the second language data are processed. Now the question is, what is the position of the learner from different perspectives of language learning? In the behaviorist school, the learner is thought to be a language producing machine who automatically and effortlessly learns a second language provided he or she gets the right input or second language data. From the perspectives of the nativist, the learner can be seen as a great initiator who is equipped with those abilities that are needed to discover the second language rules, no matter how poor or rich the quality of the input is. And there is a third or middle ground where the learner is viewed as an active contributor to second language acquisition, but depends on the provision of appropriate input. So these are the three particular views of the learner from different language learning schools. To have a better understanding of the status of the learner and the role of input and interaction, it is necessary to view these phenomena from different perspectives of language learning theories. According to the behaviorist school, learner is always thought to be a language producing machine. The linguistic environment is very crucial determining factor in second language acquisition. Input comprises the language made available to the learner in the form of stimuli and that which occurs as feedback. The learner's interlocutor models specific forms and patterns which are internalized by the learner imitating them. The availability of suitable stimuli is an important determining factor in SLA, and hence regulating the stimuli by grading the input is required. Feedback serves here two purposes. The first purpose is reinforcement and the next purpose is correction. From the nativist's account of SLA, we know that the learner is a great initiator. According to the school of nativist, exposure to language cannot account satisfactorily for acquisition. Input is merely a trigger that activates the internal mechanisms. As a result of the preeminence of the nativist view in the 1960s and early 1970s, researchers focused on the output of second language learners, especially the errors in speech and writing, believing that the output would reveal the nature of the learning strategies involved. Nativist view precluded the possibility that at least some aspects of the learner's output could be explained in terms of the characteristics of the input. We can also view the status of learner from interactionist account of SLA. In this school, acquisition of a language is thought to be as a result of an interaction between the learner's mental abilities and the linguistic environment. The learner's processing mechanisms both determined and are determined by the nature of input. Similarly, the quality of input affects and is affected by the nature of the internal mechanisms. Not only the utterances produced by the learner, but also the discourse which the learner and the interlocutor collaboratively construct is an important source of second language data. Our today's discussion basically revolves around the interactionist perspectives of SLA. The discussion of the role of the linguistic environment in SLA is conducted largely within the interactionist framework. Many of the early studies of input and interaction concerned the acquisition of a first language rather than a second language. Therefore, the study of how mothers talk to young children can provide important insight about both first and second language acquisition research. In this context, we can think of the motherese and first language acquisition. When mothers speak to their children, they typically simplify their speech and make efforts to sustain communication. The formal and interactional characteristics of this kind of speech are referred to as motherese. They may help the child to learn the language. Research in first language acquisition in the 1970s first challenged the prevailing nativist view. Snow and Ferguson 1977 and Watterson and Snow 1978 would be the best examples in this regard. Early research into the mother's language was concerned with identifying its linguistic properties in order to establish whether it was in fact degenerate as claimed by Chomsky. Empirical studies were able to show that the mother's speech was remarkably well formed, containing few ungrammatical utterances or sentence fragments. Moreover, it was characterized by a number of formal adjustments compared to speech used in adult conversations. Now, the question that arises is, what are those adjustments? Snow in 1976 lists a number of adjustments in the mother's talk with her children. A lower mean length of utterance, the use of sentences with a limited range of grammatical relations, few subordinate and coordinate constructions, more simple sentences, the occurrence of tutorial questions, and a high level of redundancy. These are the adjustments that are very frequently used in motherese. Sachs 1977 shows that mothers tune the pitch, tonation, and rhythm to the perceptive sensitivity of the child. These adjustments were considered to constitute a special use of language or register known as motherese. In the studies involving motherese, the researchers did not only identify the linguistic properties, rather they also focused on the functions of motherese. Ferguson 1977 suggests three functions in motherese. The first function that a motherese plays is an aid to communication. The second function that a motherese plays is a language teaching aid. And the third function that Ferguson identified is a socialization function. So now the question is, how do mothers determine the nature and the extent of modifications needed? Actually, the mothers are very sensitive and they do it subconsciously, and they tone down their language and do the necessary adjustments automatically from their intuition. And if we ask, how does motherese influence first language acquisition? Well, for a brief account, you can see Wells 1981 for how motherese affect first language acquisition.